My last TikTok was about class warfare, and now I want to talk about class consciousness, but first I need to show you this video to describe to you what I think working class people are.
Here is the actual distribution of wealth in America. The poorest Americans don't even register. They're down to pocket change. And the middle class is barely distinguishable from the poor. In fact, even the rich between the top 10 and 20 percentile are worse off. Only the top 10% are better off. And how much better off? So much better off that the top 2 to 5% are actually off the chart at this scale. And the top 1%, this guy, well, his stack of money stretches 10 times higher than we can show. 1% of America has 40% of all the nation's wealth. The bottom 80%, 8 out of every 10 people, or 80 out of these 100, only has 7% between them. And this has only gotten worse in the last 20 to 30 years. While the richest 1% take home almost a quarter of the national income today, in 1976, they took home only 9%, meaning their share of income has nearly tripled in the last 30 years. The top 1% own half the country's stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. The bottom 50% of Americans own only 0.5% of these investments, which means they aren't investing. They're just scraping by. I'm sure many of these wealthy people have worked very hard for their money, but do you really believe that the CEO is working 380 times harder than his average employee?
Alright, this distribution is not natural. This distribution is because the 1% is hoarding all the wealth because of Reaganomics, trickle-down theory, and neoliberalism, which only works for the wealthy. Basically, I think working class people are these 80% that are essentially fighting over 7% of the nation's income. We are selling our labor for the majority of our lives, and we're being exploited by a capitalist system that keeps our wages low and stagnant. We are the majority who are living paycheck to paycheck, and that includes upper middle class people, maybe lucky enough to make a lot of money and maybe even have a house and have a college degree, but most of that goes to their mortgage and education and taxes and groceries. And it also includes homeless people, people unable to work, homeless veterans, and the working poor living in poverty despite working 2 jobs. And you and I would not be able to stop working, or else we wouldn't be able to pay for rent, let alone retire one day. Basically, working class people are all of us who are forced to work and forced to sell our labor. The factory workers, Uber drivers, restaurant workers, and retail workers that produce a surplus in the form of profits that the ruling class, the top 1%, hoards for themselves. Whereas we are one bad medical diagnosis away from financial disaster. We could lose our house if we get cancer from medical debt. We cannot quit our jobs because we are wage slaves. We need to acknowledge the false narratives that the ruling class pushes in mainstream media and stop calling homeless or poor people lazy and realize we are all just tired and fed up with this capitalist exploitative system. We're the exploited masses, and we need to stand in solidarity with each other to win this class warfare against the ruling class, to stop our exploitation by achieving class solidarity. And the goal of class solidarity is for better living conditions, better benefits, better wages, having our human rights respected when it comes to healthcare, housing, education. And I think that's important, that we need to keep that in mind. Let me know what you think. I love to read your comments.